Well, after race number 5, we have invited the winners into our little studio at the US Sailing Centre. Mr. Charlie Buckingham, Mr. Austin Sperry. Congratulations, guys. Super race.
Thank you.
Thanks, Digby.
So we're going to have a little look at the start and get into analysis mode. And here we're replaying virtually from about a minute before the start, and we'll flag up your boat and we'll see whereabouts you were. And I wonder, Charlie, if you just talk us through the tactics of where you wanted to start.
I guess before the start, we were deciding what side of the line we wanted to start at, and I would say at 5 minutes, we both decided the pin looked good, probably about 10 degrees favored. It wasn't too much traffic, and we had a really good acceleration.
McDonald von Schwartz to weather of you, and they were black flagged.
And Augie is, I think he was right here.
Yeah, he's right there.
And both Andy and Augie were black flags, so we must have been right on the line.
You are right on it. Okay, so now you begin to poke out. McDonald von Schwartz don't quite know yet, nor does Augie or Bruno Prada. That flick is just the trackers catching up with the data, so ignore that. But these guys are out, and unfortunately von Schwartz now begins to move away. Now you're in a bit of clean air.
Yeah. Especially when it took a little while for Augie to go away, but after that we had a really good lane.
Okay, so we're going to move up and just speed it up a little bit. You're not quite in the lead. The furthermost pin, I think.
Is that Luke? Luke Lawrence?
It could well be Luke Lawrence. Yeah, I think he had an early lead there. But you're in the game there, in the hunt, and in clean wind and this clean lane. Just talk a tiny bit about the lanes for people watching this.
Well, in the starboat, if you can start and have hit the line with pace and go long starboard, you're going to come good at the top. You know, everybody's jockeying for position. People didn't get off the line. We were very fortunate. Charlie put us in a great spot. You can see there on the virtual eye that we had a great lane all the way up. We did a one-tack beat, effectively started on starboard, went probably a mile, and then we tacked on to port. Unfortunately, we were a little overstood. So
I think it was Dr. Merkelbach and maybe Eric Doyle and John McCausland,
and Doug Smith, too.
Doug Smith, and they all started in the ideal spot. They were further up the line, and Lee bowed us. Yeah. And I think we're top 5 at the mark.
Let's just slow that down ever so slightly. You mentioned that you'd overstood. Here we have the mathematical ley lines, the port ley line, starboard ley line, and you'd gone further across that, so effectively sailing a bit more distance. Why was that?
Well, that wasn't on purpose.
I think there was a little bit of current pushing us to windward.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Understood. Because I mean, we were looking from the top down, and we could see a lot of boats doing that, and obviously that's not what you intend. I'm going to just hit pause. So you're happy with your start. You're in the top 5. You're around there. How key is it to get a really good first beat in a 72 boat fleet like this, Charlie?
It's critical. I think if you can get off the line clean and you have good speed, you're just able to hold on starboard for, I guess, have a good lane, keep that speed, and not tack too soon and get tacked on. I think you'll be in pretty good shape.
And Austin, that was interesting, a one-tack beat almost. So really, every tack maneuver you do, you kind of lose space and distance. They take time.
They do, and I will say the guys in the middle, we couldn't cross them. So that was one of the reasons why we were a little overstood. We were waiting for, I think it was Eric Doyle, to flop. We went probably a little too far and came back on port. And, you saw those guys that got ahead of us at the weather mark. When you overstand in the starboat, it's very slow. With the hard chines, it's not a very optimal position and a favorable mode, if you will, for the boat. So
I'm learning quickly that, you just go sideways. You don't move forward.
Now we are going to jump to the final leg. Okay, so you've already done 2 laps of the entire track over an hour and a half or so. And now we're jumping to the final leg, to the finish, because it turns into a super drag race. And there's you, John McCausland and Roger Cheer, hammering away upwind. McCausland Cheer, they've got 50 meters over you. They're piling out into fresh, clean air. You've got your lane, as you say. Now, we know you won this race. How on earth did you overtake McCausland and Cheer?
I think looking at the tracker there, we had a really good rounding and actually hooked into some right pressure. Maybe it was pressure and a little bit of angle that went in our favor. So when his first tack, we gained a lot of distance on him.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you say?
I think that's right. And I think you saw we had really good height. So earlier in the leg, we were just gaining on him on that starboard rounding. We were able to kind of just gauge a little up to weather. And then he crossed us on port. We protected the left.
I think the critical moment was him releasing us and letting us go left.
That's right.
I would like to do something a little strange. We'll come back to this moment. Paul, I'm going to ask you to rewind, if you would, Paul, from Virtual Eye, and we'll find that little moment.
I think this is good. I actually said
and then slow it right down there.
I said to Austin that we were getting close to ley line and that I wanted to start engaging. And then this is the tack where he let us go.
Okay, if we slow right down. So he tacks on you there in match racing format, and rather good, but he could have tacked on you again. Is that right?
Yeah, he had a hard time getting back to us. We got some nice pressure over there, and when we came back, I think that's when we crossed him, and he tacked to leeward.
And he was choosing to cover us going back right. So when he was down speed, we did another tack back to the left side, and this is where we gained.
Was the wind moving at all? Was this helping you out here?
I think the wind shifted left, and there was more pressure coming from the left.
Yeah, and the course axis from the start was, I think, 140, and then by the end it was 150, so it favored the left side. And that's
Or no, it was one.
It was 130, 140. Yeah, it was.
Can I, Paul? Would you mind if we rewind again, just to that moment, because I want to get it clear in my head, because it's quite hard when you're not out there on the racetrack and you're not a tactician and great sailor like yourself to kind of nail a moment like this, because it looks like this is a kind of deciding moment between you coming second and first. So if we go back a tiny bit more, Paul, if we would, to that moment there, that's so go back a tiny bit more, Paul, to that moment. Just here we go. Okay, now if we go kind of real slow into this, just explain it, in idiot terms for dear old diggers here.
Yeah, well, we knew we were going to get tacked on there, right? And I mean, that's the right move to force us out. From his position, it was a call. Do we want the right or the left at the top? And obviously he thought the right was better, so he tacks on us there, forces our hand, and we tack back onto starboard and just get more separation.
I think we got a little bit lucky that he was choosing to cover the right side and let us go left.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had good speed to take advantage of good pressure and angle, but I think for sure getting a little bit of leverage left and him not covering us out there helped us a lot.
Fair enough. Then you engage again, you come in, McCausland and Cheer come and tack underneath you.
He couldn't cross us there.
Okay.
That was a problem. That's why he chose to tack there. I think looking back, maybe, I don't know if I was him, I might have ducked us and got
Tried
some
to go
leverage
for
on the
the
left,
left, yeah.
but he didn't.
So now you're in a straight line drag race, and you've got the weather gauge, as we like to say in naval terms, and you're away, and you're beginning to pull out a lead on McCausland and Cheer, and looks like you're just making. We weren't sure if you were making the finish line or not, but I think you were enough.
I think this is a little deceiving number. It seemed closer than that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we did one final tack when he tacked, just for good measure and a little insurance. He flops, we get in front of him, and we go.
And boom, there it is. Happy days.
Happy days.
Buckingham and Sperry racing back to the hoist.
That's a real race.
That is the real race. I wonder sometimes if we just start the whole race from there, and commentate from there. Anything else? Can you add anything else on that race today that's illustrative of tactic strategy, Austin?
It was lighter. It started out in a really nice breeze. I think I hiked for basically every weather leg up until the last quarter of that. I don't know if that had something to do. There was a lot of spectator boats, the TV boat, so there was a little choppy. The breeze went a little lighter. Clouds started coming on the race course. So it was good to get that thing finished when we did.
And final comment, Charlie.
I think the left was favored, and we were on the left side every beat, and that helped us. I think that, coupled with our speed and good start, made for that race.
Well, we enjoyed it very much. We enjoyed talking to you and about you. Thank you very much for coming into our little studio here. It has lifted you up in the overall standing, so you are within sight of a podium finish at the end of race number 6. And I just want to say good luck to you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Be a good
Cheers.
day. Cheers.